What up?
Thank you. All right, guys, ready? I'm gonna kick it to Whisk Principal first, okay? Just so you know, Kurt, can you kick it over to whichever of the Californians you choose, and then the other Californian kick it over to the other Californian, and then last Californian introduce JR.
Yes, I'm
Okay, sounds good.
I'm gonna go with Terrio, then to Carl.
Okay, there we go. All right, let me get my sound effects. I'm naked without my sound effects. Okay, here we go. John, edit here. Hello and welcome to Techlandia. How are you doing today? I am John Samuelson, up in the Pacific Northwest of Portland, Oregon, or as we like to call it, the Emerald City. I'm now going to kick it old school over to my good friend that I just saw probably about 72 hours ago, the one, the only Blue Steel, and his name is...
Hey, it's me, Kurt Reese, and I'm happy to be back to Techlandia for the first time in several months, so thanks for having me back. All right, and I'm thrilled to be on this show with a bunch of good folks, and I will kick it over to Mr. David Rhymes with Stereo, David Terrio.
Thanks, Kurt. Hi, everyone. David Terrio here, English teacher in sunny Southern California. Actually, it rained today. Actually, it hailed today. Kurt would be interested in that. Kurt loves weather. And it was a day where I felt cold and alone without my former partner, JR, but we'll get to him later. Now we'll go to Carl Lindgren Stryker.
Can we start asking what the heck is the deal with David Terrio?
What is the deal? Yeah. You know what? David Terrio.
What is the deal with that beard? That's what I want to know.
You know what? He is looking like Papa tonight. He has got some Hemingway going on tonight.
He does actually look definitely like a Hemingway look, for sure.
You're saying I'm heavy?
Whoa!
Heavy thoughts. Heavy.
I was thinking
Clooney. Hi. My name's Carl Lindgren Stryker. I am a 9th and 10th grade world history teacher in the Bay Area of California, and I'm going to make a polarizing statement. David, I know as an English teacher you will judge me for this. I just don't know if it's going to be positive or negative. Hemingway is one of my favorite authors, so I don't mind doing a podcast with somebody who looks like him.
All right.
And then finally, one of the nicest people in EdTech has agreed to join us tonight. Our guest tonight is not only brilliant, but I think one of genuinely the best people that I get to hang out with when I wander around and meet cool people.
Kelly Commode is coming on tonight. Okay, big finish. JR, go.
Oh man. Hi guys, my name is JR, Ginex Orinion. I hold the second longest name in Techlandia, only second to Carl Lindgren Stryker. I'm currently a digital learning coach in Orange County, California. I was a chemistry teacher and was known to set off the fire alarm at least once a month.
That's true. And
David will attest to that.
Does a fire alarm sound like this?
No, not close.
Okay. All the students in the school were excited when JR was doing a lab because it meant they were going to get out of class.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh gosh, the janitors loved me.
Well, so did JR. It's been almost a year in the making to get you on Techlandia, so we're glad you're here.
Thanks. Sorry for the delay.
No, it's our delay too, and really you can blame Wisconsin Principal. Just blame him.
Okay, he's the scapegoat for tonight.
Yeah, he's a scapegoat every night, really.
No, hey, now if you go back into the Techlandia archives, one of the 3 Twitter people to follow was from me, and it was JR.
Actually, that's right. I saw that on one of the episodes, and I think John had tweeted it out, and then I watched the episode. I'm like, oh yeah, look at that. Kurt mentioned me. So, and I actually never met you, Kurt, actually, until tonight, right?
Yeah, until tonight. The first time we've been talking live.
Yeah.
That's because Kurt has these omniscient powers. He just knows things, you know? He just takes bits of data out of the air and goes, boom. He's magical.
Yeah.
So, JR, it's good to have you on here. It's good to have you on. Okay, so
thanks,
JR,
John.
I followed your trials and tribulations on the Facebook, which I don't really follow Facebook that much, but I did see them come through. So we're going with the theme last week where we had Cashley Williams and John Stevens on, where they were talking about being a technology coach. So why don't you tell us about your transition from being a chemistry teacher with David Terrio and then going and being a technology coach?
Okay, so this is, I left the classroom in August and to become a tech TOSA, or teacher on special assignment. I now actually, just to describe sort of what I do on a daily basis, I work with 8 science teachers across 4 different high schools. They actually have to apply to become, we call them fellows, so they have to apply to work with me on a weekly basis. So I spend probably about half the day with them. We go through a coaching cycle, so I'll do an observation of a lesson that they're trying to implement, and then we'll sit down and debrief during their prep, and then see where we can infuse technology to kind of bring whatever they're doing, to a little bit higher up the SAMR ladder. So then we've got kids collaborating on documents, we've got them publishing, we've got them doing creative work. And it's funny, like we talk about, and science and creativity, they kind of they seem like they don't go along, but actually there's a lot of creativity in science. And I feel like I help them bring that in with the use of technology. So that's sort of my, sort of my typical day. One of the days in the middle of the week, we end up having meetings and so forth to kind of plan, large professional development sessions through for the entire district. But primarily, I get to work one-on-one with teachers, which is actually one of the best things of my job. Is I really get to see, gains, like tangible gains in their practice, because I'm with them. We implement something, and then we always debrief. And I love the debrief because if anything, we learn what not to do the next time. So that's kind of like the description of my day, and that's kind of like the life of a tech coach. I hope that was not too wordy.
No, look at you being so nice. Hey, JR, as you've gone through a couple WASC cycles, and you know that one of the things accreditation teams look for is they want to see systematic change. So they don't like the idea that a kid's going to get one teacher who's way better than the other. The district you went to did a really interesting thing where the teachers you're working with had to apply, right, and to work with you. How is working with one teacher good for the whole school?
That's a good question. So the idea, again, is it's the thought of the multiplier effect. So the digital learning coach's role is to, and once we've identified those people that we're working, the fellows, we try to kind of instill in them sort of the responsibility of eventually becoming one of the site leaders in with regards to implementing technologies. So we ask them, one of their sort of responsibilities is to share what they do on the kinds of technologies that they implement, the kinds of lessons and activities that they're doing with the rest of their department. So the best part about that is, we're identifying leaders within the school site, and then it sort of grows from there. And eventually what happens is, and obviously it's not going to be something that happens right away, but there's a growth aspect to it, and inevitably it infuses into everyone's sort of into each department within that school. So it's kind of great. I love the fact that I'm training leaders, future leaders, and then from then on, it kind of grows. So,
JR, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask anyway.
Sure.
What did the application process look like for people to become a fellow, so that they got to work with you? What did they have to do? What did they have to prove? What were the
Really, what they had to do was just agree to the conditions of becoming a fellow. One was to be to work, to set aside time to work with us on a weekly basis, to kind of agree to integrating technologies in a part of like a coaching cycle. So the coaching cycle could be a week, could be 2 weeks. and that's just taking a look at a lesson and sort of infusing a little bit of technology in there. And I'll kind of speak to that in a little bit. And then the other thing is to present to their staff in some capacity, whether that be sharing school-wide or sharing within their departments what they're doing. And even probably, present. It also counts as if they present actually at a local conference. The kinds of things that they're doing as well. Getting back to the technology piece, the reason why we implemented the digital learning coaches at Tustin Unified was because it recently went one-to-one. So across the district, K through 8 got iPads, and then the high school levels got laptops. So there had to be some kind of return on investment sort of statistics. Like we got to be able to see that the teachers, once we've given them the technologies, that they're actually using it and using it in a meaningful way. And so I apparently was identified as an expert in science and technology, so I was able to kind of teach other teachers on how to use that stuff. So, and it's been really good. I can't tell you. We did this one conference. We invited a bunch of people from all over California, actually, supers, assistant supers, principals, and so on, to come see what we've been doing and learn from that. And also, we wanted to learn from them too and their implementation process. And I can't tell you, when we did these tours on Thursday last week, how affirming all our work as digital learning coaches have been, to see all the kids engaged, having really thoughtful, analytical discussions in science, being creative, using anywhere from virtual bulletin boards to Google Drawings and so forth, to be able to explain what they're learning. It was a pretty amazing event, and I wasn't sure like where this was going, and then after seeing that, it really made me feel like I was part of something really good. So
it's interesting. Hey, Kurt, did you notice on JR's sweatshirt right there? This podcast is sponsored by Canvas. You couldn't have branded that logo anywhere. Canvas, if you want to donate some money for the podcast, my fees are coming up in a second. We'll be happy to take some of your $40 million you just got.
So yeah, I did notice that you're wearing a Canvas sweatshirt, and that's what I use. I teach an online class for the University of Kentucky, and I use Canvas, and I like that LMS a lot. So, do you use it, or do you? How do you help your teachers with an LMS with what they're trying to do?
A good question. Actually, it's kind of funny. I'm actually wearing a Canvas sweatshirt, but we use Haiku as our learning management system. But anyway,
I have a Canvas flask.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
JR, can you say that in 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and 5 syllables? Please?
There's the English teacher right there. There he goes.
Now you need the cymbal and the drums.
Canvas, so good.
To answer your question, Kurt, I really do. Some learning management systems kind of call themselves learning management systems, but there really aren't. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I love Canvas is because it is a true learning management system. So, and what I mean by that is not only can you post content and it's integrated with all these different applications. This is a total sell for them. I'm sorry, but I love it. I mean David knows because they use Canvas at Huntington Beach. But to give you a comparison, right? So Google Classroom is a document management system. So it only manages documents, and then that's it. Other I don't want to say any names, but other learning management systems that present themselves as that are course management systems that really have they have assessment pieces or assessment applications, but really aren't as robust. It doesn't have the flexibility of having running an online course. Like, for example, allowing a student to take an assessment more than twice, mm-hmm. And making those, and then extending the time that they take it. one thing that I really liked about Canvas was, if a student had a specific, IEP 504, I can make that accommodation really easily in that environment. And it's not as easy in different environments. The other thing about Canvas that I really liked was the gradebook. Although it does need a little bit of work and on the design end because of the scrolling option of it, but it's still, I feel like it's still a really great tool. So I hope I kind of described like the differences between like systems and so forth. Like learning management systems, like really the assessment, the content piece, the gradebook piece, and all that stuff. It's all at one nice, great package, and you can basically run a course fully functioning, completely delivered online without having to supplement with any other applications, basically. So
that's exactly how Kurt does it, right, Kurt?
I do. I haven't done anything beyond Canvas, and this is not a Canvas episode, so I'll be careful about talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I use it too. I sent out an initial email to all of the students, and just said, hey, we're using Canvas. This is the last email I'm going to send you. Everything else you'll find through Canvas. Mm-hmm. So sign up for whatever notifications you want, and it's been successful for me. Now, I'm using it with undergraduate students. You might want to take a different approach for kids who are in middle school or high school, but for me, it's working well.
Yeah, that's good.
JR, I was just wondering, all right, so my question for you is, what are some of you talking about the creativity in science, could you give us one of the examples of like one of the lessons you're kind of infusing to bring out the creativity in science? Because I seriously am the worst science student ever. So I would just really like to know.
Well, maybe I'll tell a story. How about that? Tell a quick story. So
I love stories.
When they discovered, most scientific discoveries, a lot of them actually come from accidents. And the great part about science now is we know so much about the universe, and it's just a matter of being able to figure out solutions to take a look at the things that we want. Right now, we're trying to find or look at things at the smallest, values and so forth. And it's kind of like, okay, so let me explain. So I've got luckily I have this sitting right here. So here's a little container with a box that's inside of it. Now let's pretend that you can see that the box is blue. It's squarish in shape and cubish in shape. But let's say that this entire thing was dark and you couldn't see it. And then it was completely closed, so I couldn't reach inside of it. And if I shook it, would you be able to hear, what and this is kind of weird, would you be able to hear what the shape is going to be? If I kind of swirl it around like this, it doesn't sound like it's round, so it's got to have edges. So it's kind of like the creative, okay, so, that's what scientists had to do, is they had to basically shake a box that, that they couldn't see inside of to figure out what sound it made. And from the sounds, they were able to figure out, oh, these things are probably round. These things have charges. And they would put up a magnet against it and then shake it and so forth. And then they would notice that, hey, you know what? It wasn't rattling. So it must have been stuck. And so it's kind of like that. I don't know. I'm not doing it justice, but I hope that it's sort of that, like, coming up with experiments to help again explain the universe. And so. And it's the stuff like that, and I wish I'll have to think about some other creative. You have to give me like another minute or two to think about one, like a story about how someone came up with a solution for things, And the best part about science too, it's like so let me give you another example. Let's say you have 3 different fruit juices that you want, that are giving you heartburn, and you want to know which one gives you the worst kind of heartburn. And you got to design an experiment with that. So, instead of most chemistry teachers would go ahead and give you the procedure and so forth. But I'm the type of person that like, okay, well, here's the juices. Here's your antacid tablets. Here's some beakers and some test tubes. Go ahead and go at it. Figure out which one is which, and you tell me what antacid tablet to buy because it's going to be the best one to neutralize to not give me heartburn. And so kids will come up with some crazy ideas on how to do that. And you may actually find a better sort of process, in figuring that out. And then who knows, it may become something like a test that, a pharmaceutical company may use or some kind of science company may use, like to, hey, you know what, we really like that. And then next thing you know, it's patented or something like that. Or the process is patented. So that's where the creativity comes in, is in the process, not so much on the content itself. So.
Right. So, JR, so when an admin comes in to do an evaluation in a really good science class, do they have any idea what's going on? It just reminded me of, if I went in to do an observation and someone who was teaching the German language, I guess I would watch the kids and look for engagement, but in terms of content, I would have no idea. And that's probably the same thing for like an advanced physics class.
Sure.
So, what has been your experience there with just admin trying to do their job? Because I'm an administrator. I work hard. I try to do what I'm supposed to do, but I'll admit when I don't know what I don't know.
That's okay. So let's say I'll tell another story. My administrator came in and we were building Rube Goldberg machines. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Yeah. It's for the people listening, it would be the beginning of the first movie of the Back to the Future series. So and I just gave them a task. I said, I need you to use. We were learning 6 simple machines. That's part of the standard. So you had to know the 3 different types of levers, and then 3 different types of ramps. You had to include those in your Rube Goldberg machine in some capacity. You could use them more than once if you'd like, but you needed at least 12 of those simple machines in your Rube Goldberg machine. And that not only that, but you had to, the Rube Goldberg machine at the very end had to complete a specific task, something that was helpful. Nothing like, it had to be something helpful, like you could have it feeding you or something like that,
or you could have had it for the OK Go next video.
Right, the OK Go video. There you go. Right. I forgot about that. And so my principal actually came in the middle of us actually doing it, and my room looked like chaos. The kids were yelling at each other, and they're trying to put this together. They were trying to roll marbles down a ramp or make it into a screw, like the corkscrew and so forth. And he looked at it and he goes, "What are you guys doing?" And so the kids would actually explain, he'd ask the kids, and then the kids would explain, "This is what we're doing." And as an administrator, if the kids can explain exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it and what the goal is and how they're going to film it and so forth. And actually, they had to film the process too. They had to film it just like the OK Go video. And so not only did they had to learn about the machines and how they worked, because they had to understand how the force is applied and then transferred to another part of the machine, but they had to figure out how to film it all in a linear sort of fashion. They had to be able to identify it through annotations in the video. And so if you see all of them sort of engaged in that capacity, I think that any administrator goes into the classroom, sees all of the kids engaged in like this crazy activity that's it looks like a free-for-all in a science classroom. I think that would be sort of justice to the kind of learning that's happening in that classroom. So my classroom's kind of chaotic anyway. I mean, I light fires. I tell ninth graders to go ahead and practice lighting matches when they go home, because they need to do that when they come to class. So.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I would love to make a Rube Goldberg machine like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I ended up having to do one myself because my students challenged me. They said I couldn't build one better than they could. So.
Oh, that is a challenge. Carl, I think we need to make one of those at the Q. What do you think, David? Carl, you in for that one? Make a big Rube Goldberg machine?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
I'll bring the pieces. You guys just have to put it together.
That actually would be a really awesome idea.
Can everybody bring a part, right? You bring a part and you figure out how it attaches to the next person's part, and there we go.
That would be fun.
We would have to determine what kind of task it would do. So,
That's right. I don't know. I think maybe
could
it
it
just
could it
be in the OK
process
Go video.
registration packets? No
It
comment.
could.
Can it increase
Wait,
Wi-Fi
could be
bandwidth?
Wi-Fi bandwidth, yeah.
Right, increase the Wi-Fi bandwidth. There you go.
There we go. Jinx David on that one. That's pretty funny. I don't know if Carl, if you saw that one, did you see the question from the audience? Were you going to ask that one from
No,
the?
I checked a few minutes ago, but I haven't checked recently.
Oh, okay. So one of the things that I saw from the questions is this is from a person in Australia. They were saying they're big fans of the show Breaking Bad, and they were asking, have you ever considered?
It's from Albuquerque.
Oh, it's from Albuquerque, right? Yeah. Have you ever considered manufacturing? No, wait, never mind. Question. So anyway, that was actually Kurt's joke. Thank you, Kurt, for that one. It's got to be good. JR,
I should have grown a goatee actually, like to match the Breaking Bad.
That's right. We could have done that one. JR, what else would you like to talk about? I know that you've got to go. We said that your time is short. You do have a dinner date coming on, and we don't like to get in the way of dinner dates, especially me, because look, I've never missed a meal in my life. But did you want to go into Did you go in a little bit to your big data?
Yeah. It's good. I think it's good to talk about it. I don't know if many people know about what big data is. So let me give you a little bit of a metaphor. So I'll ask the question. I'll use the Kenneth Cukier analogy of apple pie. So what's America's favorite pie? And most people would say it would be apple pie. And apple pies are about 30 centimeters in diameter and so forth. And what the supermarket started to do actually was make 11 centimeter pies. So they just started to make smaller ones. And what they found out was apple pie actually was not America's favorite pie at that point. And the reason why is because, well, now that you've got these smaller pies, everyone in the family can go ahead and get whatever pie that they want. And so America's, it was always, if you had a big 30 centimeter pie and you're buying it for a family, apple pie is actually everyone's second favorite pie because you had to by default, right? So when they started making smaller pies, they learned that apple was actually the fourth one down. Wow. And so what does that tell you? So really what that does is the more data that you have and the smaller data that you can gather, the better story that you can tell. And so nowadays, with all these technologies and us, logging in as we use applications, it asks us, hey, you know what? We want to use your email. You want to use we want to be able to track your data and so forth. Well, all that stuff is stored somewhere. And then, so what do we do with that data? And what are the kinds of things that you can do with that? And so big data is starting to come into education a little bit. And may start to affect the decisions that we make. For example, let's bring up Haiku, for example, a learning management system. Student achievement is showing students are really doing well, okay, after, on the third week of the second semester, for example. And then what they do is they take a look at that data from Aries, and then they go into Haiku, and then they figure out, okay, where's the most traffic happening in this class? And these kids seem to be doing really well during that third week. Well, during the third week in Haiku, you could track all the the clicks and so forth, and track the traffic, and you realize that a lot of the traffic happens to be on this one Haiku page where a YouTube video actually is playing. So you go to the YouTube video and you see all the the data from that and how many views it's got, how many likes it's got, and so forth. And what people can do now is they can find a specific resource and somehow correlate it to better student achievement. And if you can do that and make those connections to such granular data, then maybe you can tag that as a resource and go, hey, this is a good resource we can use for our, for the science department, for example. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking, what's the bad part about that? You know what I mean? How can that be turned, it's into the evil part of it? So can you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a cue to specific advertising if you see where people's tendencies are.
Mm-hmm.
My doctoral dissertation will be in the area of data privacy, so this is kind of falling, right in my
Oh, good.
right in my wheelhouse here. So just I think about advertising and just directed marketing.
Jared, one of the things I think about is, as an accreditation person, I remember sometimes you would see a piece of data, like we would look at test scores and we go, oh, that's our lowest one. We need to really work on that as a weakness. But then as soon as we looked at it compared to other districts, it was actually a strength.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I would worry about is that somebody sees this pile of data, but they're not reading it correctly.
Right.
And then you make, the wrong assumptions. Yeah.
Right. And I see I see it turning in the sense that, like, for example, like, I mean, well, we'll just do that. We'll just do the education example. Like, you could say that student achievement is really low on this on this specific week, and then you start to tie it into lessons that may have not been ineffective, but then you start making those ties to specific teachers and so forth, and then does that become an assessment? What do you call it? Not an assessment. I can't think of the word.
Evaluation tool.
Yeah, an evaluation tool. Does it become evaluation? And so it is really important to understand that as we use more applications and those applications track traffic, that that we can look at the data and then use it for good. But it's kind of like the whole Spider-Man. I'm going to pull out the Spider-Man quote. With great power comes great responsibility. So using that data, we want to tell good stories. We don't necessarily want to target specific people or specific systems that aren't working and so forth. So and it also begs the question. Do we look at the data? Do we need to look at that to make the decisions? And sometimes it's good because, in a large district with a one-to-one program, it's really important to be able to see when students are using the technologies. Because, teachers may not be using the laptops in the classroom. And that may look really bad, if you've got an administrator in the classroom and they're seeing that the laptops aren't being used. But if you track the data on the usage on those laptops, majority of the hours that they're on are actually in the evenings. And if you track the where they're going and so forth, they're going to the learning management systems. They're watching the videos in flip instruction. They're doing the assessments online as well. So you could say, yeah, we don't see it during the day, but definitely in the evening we see a lot of traffic. So yes, they are using the technologies, and those are the kinds of things that you can bring up to. Like board members and say, what, like they're using the technology. We need more of it. We need better ones and so forth. And hopefully those are the kinds of decisions that you make with it, like, in the sense of like improving learning and improving instruction and so forth. So.
Very cool. I don't know. I know that Big Data is a band. That's what I know. There's my contribution. Don't they sing the song Dangerous, Kurt?
Yes.
I bet you didn't know that I was dangerous.
Yep.
All right.
Very big right now.
JR, do you want to keep going, or do you have to get off and go save your marriage?
I do need to get going.
Okay.
So
That's good. You know what we'll do? We're going to stay on the line. You can drop out, and we'll just go ahead. And I was wondering if Carl Linkenstreicher would offer up one of his larger takeaways from the IPDX conference this weekend.
Thanks, JR.
Thanks,
all right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. This has been really fun. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
I actually wanted to jump back to that big data thing.
Go ahead.
You mind if I do that?
No.
Another one of the things that I was struggling with is I know that there are some teachers and or some subjects that really are concerned with measuring discrete content knowledge. Do you know this single thing? But for me in my class, that's not something that I do with any sort of regularity or with any great concern. It's not that I don't care about what kids know, but I'm more interested in giving kids the space to know the things that are interesting to them. So I guess I just wonder about. I think that David, your point about teacher evaluations was a good one, but I wonder about as well. Like, I mean, what is that? Is that going to force teachers to routinize and kind of standardize what every single kid knows or not? I think that would be a concern of mine as well.
I think it's actually an opportunity. I took Eric Seibel challenged me to give all my kids an evaluation form for one specific assignment that I did. And it was really interesting to get all that data back. There was definitely some stuff in there that I was bummed out about, that obviously I hadn't reached people and things. But I think it's in the same way that JR's kids explained what was going on to the principal, our kids have an opportunity to create their own data. So, Carl, your kids can, whether it's putting together something or deciding, what they create their own data points to share. And I think that becomes an individual teacher's responsibility. When a principal comes in, what's going on in your class, that you have created this data story, like JR was talking about. What is the story of your class? What are the data points of your class to show what kids are learning and why it's important and what's going on?
It's interesting. I mean, Carl, I can sit there and I know, when as an elementary teacher, we could as an elementary math teacher, and we're giving out these tests, we would seriously pore over every single question on benchmark exams that we would give them of release things, and yeah, we'd have big spreadsheets that would know is a student doing well on this question, and we had it that fine-tuned where we could go, okay, well, they don't know cylinders, cones, and whatever, and it can get bad, with standardized testing. I don't know. We had too much data, and we didn't have enough time to go over it.
Right. I think that's where your powers that be, whether it's administrators, whoever it happens to be, just need to understand the difference between causation and correlation, because it could be that this particular assessment always happens at this time of the year, so the kids are kind of checked out, the teachers are kind of checked out, so it isn't necessarily about the effectiveness of the instruction.
Carl, give us your takeaway from IPDX last weekend.
Singular?
Yeah, whatever. What were some of your highlights?
I think
we didn't really talk about it.
And I started a blog post on my flight home from Portland yesterday. And so that will reveal once I finish it that I'm not just saying this because he's on the show. I enjoyed Kurt's session on culture. I think that when we start talking about culture, it's this big, unwieldy beast. And I thought that Kurt did a really good job about breaking culture down into smaller pieces that teachers could actually take, or that I hate to use the jingoey word stakeholders, but I mean it wasn't just teachers in the room, that people who are concerned about education in a building can take manageable swings at. And I also was blown away, David, our mutual friend Kelly, well, we're all friends with her, but David, or anybody, I guess, David, I'm saying this to you because you weren't at IPDX, but I don't know if you've ever gotten to see Kelly present, but she presented late on a Thursday. It was hour 5.
It was 4 o'clock.
Yeah, 5 of sessions for people that day, and it was a 1-hour session on visualizing data and not visual. Kurt, you were there as well.
Right? Visualizing information, I think.
But yeah, visualizing information. And she had people just, here's a snippet of information. Okay, now do something. Okay, now share it with everybody. Everybody go look, see what other people did. Okay, here's another piece of information. Now go fix what you just did. Now show it to everybody again. And just the way she was cycling through rotations and sharing was, I thought, really brilliant. And you look back on it and you're super intuitive, but I mean it's not that intuitive because it's not something that I thought about doing before. So I was really blown away by Kelly pedagogically. I mean, I know she's brilliant. I get to do Ed Camp Home with her, but the pedagogical mastery in her session was just really, really high.
See, that's that same thing, having the kids show their data points. That's really cool. I like that. It got my wheels spinning. You just talking about it. What that would look like in an English class.
We'll get down there, David. We'll get down there. We'll have to talk about some of our Q stuff in a few weeks. Then we'll all be there.
And I'll agree with Carl that Kelly's session, Kelly Kermode again, is what we're talking about. I mean, so pretty much it was design a business card. with this information. And we learned so much from just those 7 lines of text. It was really, really well done. And
by the way, find her on Twitter at Coach K.
Coach K.
That's right.
And find
not Mike Krzyzewski.
Find JR at GoChem, like Go Chemistry, GoChem Online.
Mm-hmm. And find Kelly in 2 weeks on Techlandia.
That's right.
Oh, we'll finally get her. Yeah, I was going to say, you guys had the chance to do Ed Camp Home with her, or she hoisted you on her shoulders and carried you guys across the goal line.
Sean had the other shoulder, Sean White. So, yeah.
White?
It takes 2 people to hold Carl and I.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
No, I'm just kidding, you guys.
John, what were your takeaways from PDX?
I'm usually not a keynote person, but I really liked both of the keynotes. I thought they were awesome. I liked DK a lot, and he was very nice to talk to a little bit after, and like during the Thursday and the Friday, you could actually talk to him, and he was trying to he gave me some great ideas back and forth. And the last thing where we crowdsourced the book during the keynote. That was really cool. I saw that she wrote a blog post on how she did that, and she had like 45 prompts. But I want to reread it and just make sure that I understand everything, because that was pretty darn cool. Like doing all. I mean, I wasn't doing any of the work, of course, Carl, because that's how I am. I was talking, but I watched the people next to me do the work and write the summary of the stuff, and it was cool. Yeah. And then I still don't know how she did it.
I would totally echo that, John. I think we've all seen keynotes, and there are people who keynote brilliantly and are super inspirational. But the keynote is a keynote, and you kind of know what you're going to get. So I was really impressed. Her name is Lee Graves Wolf. She works at Michigan State. I think it's the Masters of Ed Tech program that she works.
So on Twitter, she's Graves, Gravesle.
Yes, but I was just psyched to watch someone take a big stinking risk as a keynote speaker and really nail it. I thought I would agree with your sentiment.
Yeah, it was cool. Well, we'll get to see. I can't wait to see you, David, in a few weeks down at Q.
It's gonna be fun.
One day fun. We're going. Only one day again?
Yeah, but you know what? We'll just make the hug longer.
That's right. We'll make the hug longer, and then I'll come. We'll have to get sushi somewhere. Then we have to go. I don't know if I'm going back to the SoCal on the way back. I'm going back to the Vegas town.
All right.
My flight is okay.
Anytime you're down here, I'm ready to take you somewhere to eat.
That's right. Well, the last place was awesome. Kurt, do you have any last words? It's been a while for you. Do you have any last words before we part away?
Any last words? It was. I really appreciate the Integrate Ed conferences. I was a facilitator, so I'm happy to have been there. But just the crew that's there, all of the attendees, just know how to participate and ask great questions. They aren't used to sitting and getting, so I really like that a lot. So,
yeah, it's really good. Darren Hutchins does a good job. Yeah, that's some good last words. All right, well, thanks, gentlemen, and we will catch you on the flip side.